Okay, I believe that I'm live. Cool. So, quickly give me thumbs up if you are able to hear me properly and if my voice is also proper and the screen is also visible to everyone. Cool. So, yeah, we have some chats. Hello, Shahid Ali. Good evening. Yeah, Deepak Singh is also saying good evening. Good evening, Aditya. Sahani Siddhartha. Good evening. Yeah, Yamini. Okay. Yeah, Ardinong. Sorry, I'm not pronouncing your name if I'm. Yeah, so good evening from Philippines. Great. And Anjali says good evening too. Cool. So yeah, Vaishnavi. Yeah. Evening Vaishnavi. Lalit also says good evening. Cool then. Alrighty. Quickly give me thumbs up in the chat sections and if I'm perfectly audible to everyone, can hear my voice properly. Yeah, good evening everyone. David, Sandy, good evening. Lalit, good evening. Okay, sounds like my voice is also proper to everyone. Ritik, yeah. Cool then. So you know the drill, right? For those of you who are joining for for any other time, right? Who are joining not for the first time, we will wait for until 7:05 so that everyone can get this notification and they can join in properly. And after that, we will start, with our day 4 of this bootcamp. Till then, as usual, what you can do is maybe you can tell, if this is your first time or if you are joining it for like any other day. And if you are joining in for any other day, so how is your experience? Are you learning something new or not? And if this is your first time, then what are your expectations? Yeah, good evening to everyone. Right, sorry, I cannot give shout out to every name because there are many people saying good evening, good evening. So yeah, I'll randomly pick up some names and I'll then give them a shout out probably. Oh, okay, so Manikant is also saying about the full stack bootcamp details. Yeah, so we talked about one full stack course or something, right, in yesterday's class. I told you about curriculum, I told you about features and all. Don't worry, in today's class we'll be having a detailed discussion about that. What are its features, maybe any probable questions from your side. And if you are interested, I'll definitely be sharing the form with you as well, right? So don't worry, we'll take that later in the class. Okay, Mubin Raj Puth is saying much respect. Okay, thanks. That's really grateful for you. Much respect from Pakistan. Yeah, okay, cool. Uh, okay, so Akshay is asking like how long we need to spend days expert in Java. Okay, so the see first of all, it's like depends upon how much efforts you are putting in. I believe like if you want to get like hands on with JavaScript and if you want to learn in such a pace ki you can develop some intermediate or basic applications. I think 1 week is enough to get started with that, but that will require you to have basics knowledge about JavaScript as well, right? If you are directly jumping into if you are directly jumping into React.js without learning about JS, then that will be a problem, right? So 1 week could be easy could be good amount of days to get started with React.js. But if you are not sure about JavaScript anything at all, you need to spend some time over there as well. Cool. I hope that answers your question. Good evening, everyone. Yeah. Yeah, Kirti, Muhammad Tufail. Yeah. Good evening to everyone. And yeah, so 1 more minute we'll be taking till 7:05, and then we'll be starting really quick with our day 4 of the bootcamp, right? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Okay, it's 7:05 now. I hope we can start now because a decent number of people have joined in. Cool. So as always, what we do in the very first place is we have a discussion around what we discussed in the last class, and then we move with the current classes agenda, right? So in last class, what we discussed about, we discussed everything starting from CSS, right? What is CSS? Why CSS needed? How can you add CSS into a page, and all other simple stuff about it, right? In yesterday's class, I told you we only discussed like a few basic properties, right? You remember, like we were discussing about colors, we were discussing about font family, and maybe about font size as well, right? So all these three basic properties we discussed in the last class, right? Now, in today's class, what we will be doing is, we told about the syntaxes. We told about the syntaxes of CSS. Then we told about selectors and all. I hope everyone is clear with that. Now, in today's class, first of all, we'll have a very brief introduction or very brief discussion around some of the common CSS properties, right? And as I've been telling this from the very first day itself, since this is not a very much extensive course, it is just a simple boot camp for you, so that you can play around with the front end development, and you can know if you are interested in front end or not, right? So we'll not be able to cover every property, we'll not be able to cover like everything around CSS, so we'll only have discussion around few or the common properties, right? Chalo. So first of all, we'll have that, and then we'll start jumping towards our we'll start jumping towards our JavaScript in this section. So in yesterday's class, if you remember, I showed you one mind map or something, right? Yeah, this is what I have shown you. So this is what I've created just to categorize some of the common properties, right? Now, again, I know that every common property is not there, because it's just for like a simple 5-minute quick revision or 5-minute quick recap for these properties, right? So we will do one thing. We'll quickly go around and discuss around what all things are what all things are possible. How can we achieve that, right? So if we talk about CSS properties, right? So I have categorized in 3-4 basic categorizations. So the very first and the very common way is around like color properties, right? I hope everyone is able to see this, right? I've zoomed in now. Yeah, everyone is able to see this. So in color properties, generally you can change colors in you can do two kind of changes in the colors, right? One is like if you want to change the normal color of the text, right? Maybe suppose you want to change, like we were doing in the yesterday's class, right? Normal colors that you can do. One thing you can also do is about changing the background color, right? So these all can be popular or the most common used one. In those, if you can see, in that also you will have like majorly three different categorization. One is if you want to change the normal text color, right? But you want to change it by its name. How do you change it by its name? By just writing that name, right? This is what we have been seeing in the last class. Yeah, just a minute. In the last class as well, how do you change it by name? You just write color and you write the name of that color, right? Whatever color that is. Now also there is a very quick disclaimer over here. You cannot use every color in your CSS, right? There is a fixed set of color. I believe 256 is that number, right? And how do we know this color exists in CSS or not? Again, the very obvious answer I've been telling you from very day one. If you are not sure about any tag, if you are not sure about any attribute or any other properties or values, what do? You just go to Google, you just write maybe if this color is present, or you just write colors available in CSS, and you'll have your answers, right? It's nothing like you need to remember every color or if it is present in CSS or not, right? So you can do that with color name easily. Now these are two other things that we also use at many different places. One is your RGB, right? What is RGB? I hope everyone here knows. If you have not skipped your primary education, I hope everyone knows what is RGB. Like any color in the universe is made of combination of RGB, right? Red, green and blue. In that, how do you write those RGB colors, or how do you give that colors is, firstly you'll write the color, and then you'll do one thing. You'll write RGB, and in that RGB section you'll have 3 values to fill, right? You'll have one value, then separated by comma, then second value separated by comma, and then third value, right? So this is how your value section will look like. In like normal way, you just write you might just write blue, red, green or anything like that. In this, what you'll write any particular number. Maybe you'll write 10, maybe 20, anything. The range of these values are from 0 until 255, I believe, right? Again, it could be 256 or I believe 255 is the last number, right? So starting from 0 until 255, you can put any number of value over here. Similar goes with here as well. You can start from 0 and go until 255. Any value you can write over here, and similarly from 0 till 255. Any value you will write over here, right? So what does this signifies? This signifies that what is the intensity of red in that color, what is the intensity of green in that color, and what is the intensity of blue in that color, right? If you write like if you fill these values properly, you'll have a proper color. Now you might also ask, how do I know what is the RGB value of this particular color or any particular color which I'm looking for, right? So there are plenty number of tools available online which you can easily do. Like suppose if I want to get RGB value of blue, red, or even if you want to do one more thing, I hope everyone knows this, but yeah, just for the quick reference, I'm doing this. Colors selector, anything, right? Just write it over here. Yeah, color picker you will find, and yeah, inside this, if you just click on anything, right? Suppose if I click on this color, you will find this RGB value written over here, right? So just click on this value and you'll have this color, and if you write it this way, then you'll probably have that color, right? So this was about it. Now there is one more thing. Right now I'm not going into depth because for obvious reason that I've been telling you. Now there is one more other thing that is called as an hex value, right? What is this hex value? This is nothing but a 6-digit code, alphanumeric codes. Yeah, whatever, 3 plus 3, yeah, these 6 digits code. You have to write a hash in front of them, and these numbers start from 0 until F, right? 0 1 2 3 4 until 9, and then A B C D E F, right? And I'm again not going into how these codes are generated and all these things, because yeah, in this section you can also see that the hex value is also over there as well. If you choose on any other color, maybe if you choose on this is that hex value of that color, right? This is that RGB value of that color. So in similar ways, you can put you can choose your colors, and you can put these colors according to your need, according to different ways, right? I hope this is making some sense, right? Now if that is clear, additionally there is one more thing as well. There is something called as a RGBA as well, right? What is that RGBA? That RGBA signifies that if you are putting out any color, if you want to change its intensity, right? If you want to say maybe I want to put out a blue color, but I want this to be very very faded color, so that you can do with using RGBA. In RGBA, what you will do is RGBA mein 3 values, so you'll write for those colors only. After that, what you'll do is you'll give a comma and you'll write that extra value for opacity, right? For the intensity of that color. These value ranges from 0 until 1. If you give 0, then that color will be completely faded. You will not see that color. If you write maybe suppose 0.5, the intensity of the color will be halved. If you write 1, the intensity will be full. Right, so this is how RGBAs work, and similar thing you can do with hex. Hex mein there is no nothing something called as an alpha, but yeah, hex mein you can use a property called as opacity, right? If you give color hex and then you write a property called as an opacity, and you give any value, right? If you give 0.1, 0.5, the similar things will happen over there as well. I hope I made this point clear to everyone. Yeah, just a minute. Let's see. Head over to chat and let's see if we have any other quick queries for us. Good evening. Good evening. Okay, so it's a good suggestion about Android using Kotlin. We'll definitely keep this in mind. Timings for full day. Okay, so yeah, just a minute. I am coming over to that point just in a moment, right? I'll explain everything. Attention, didn't get this thing. Just share this. Yeah, I'll share this. Don't worry. Cool, right? So I hope this is now making some sense. Now let's move to other properties as well, because we have plenty of them to cover. Yeah. So now other important property is about padding and margins, right? So this needs a little bit attention over here, because this is something that many people get confused of. So this padding property, what we have to look over there is in padding, whenever we talk about padding, right? Suppose there is a major difference between padding and margins of any any content or any box. So I'll take one simple example and I'll try to make sure that you understand this difference between padding and margin. Right. So suppose if you have a particular box, maybe you have ordered some, some 2-3 books, or maybe you have ordered some. Let's take one more example. Maybe you have like Cadbury's chocolate wala box, right? That celebration box. In that box, if you look closely, what is that? What does that box looks like from inside? You'll have like one probably 5-star chocolate over there, one probably like. What is that, like fruits and nuts chocolates over there, right? One Cadbury Gems ka packet, and all these other 2-3 certain types of what 2-3 certain types of chocolates, right? So in that scenario, right, let me give you this differentiation. So if I talk about the differences, or if I talk about the spaces between particular chocolates, right, if I say, yeah, if this is like 1 5-star and if this is like maybe some other chocolate, right, so the distances between all these chocolates, right, although I know that all these distances remain variant, right, some have like difference, some have like small distance, some have like very great distance, but yeah, let's keep a scenario suppose all these chocolates have some like same distance between each of them. So these distances between each other chocolate, right, that is called as your padding, right? Padding bole to anything that that your content has the spaces between, that is called as a padding, right? Now there is one very simple example, that is just a minute here. I should have explained it in a different manner because this might get a little confusing. Just a minute. Let's take a simple example, right? So maybe I'll say ki if this is a box, right, and if you have another box inside it, so if the distance between the outer box and this inner content, right, whatever this distance is, like whatever is this distance, let's take the different color for that. Whatever is that distance, that is called as your padding, right? Suppose if you have a box and if you have some box inside it, or if you have a container, or if you have any parent element and if you have another smaller content inside it, so whatever is that distance, this is called as your padding, right? I mean the pad that you are giving it for inside. Now the other thing is, suppose if you have certain different types of other boxes, right? Suppose you have plenty of such boxes, or you can understand it this way, like photo frames. You have like some photo frames or some paintings hanging over to your walls, right? So whatever distance is between photo and that particular frame, that is called as your padding, right? And whatever is the distance between different frames, right, all these different frame is called as your margins, right? I hope now the difference is somewhat clear to everyone, right? This is your padding. Whatever, suppose there are different types of boxes and they have some distance between them, that is your margins, and whatever box you have and inside that content that you have, that is called as your padding. Great. I hope that the difference is something clear to everyone. Although we are not going into depth, I'm just giving a brief overview about, so that you now understand like the difference between padding and margin. And how do you give paddings and margins is again the similar thing. Suppose if you want to give, like if you want to change the distance between these photo frames, right? Suppose if there is one painting, other paintings are there, you will increase their margins. You will say maybe do one thing, let's give this as like 30 pixels, right? I hope pixels is making sense to everyone because we discussed in the last class, right? So you'll say acha, this is the margin. Now if you want to change, if you want to give a proper size, just a minute, if you want to give a proper distance between this image and frame, what you will do is you will say I'll probably change this padding, right? Chalo, if that is making sense to everyone, right? Again, if you have any doubts, please feel free to ask. If that is making some sense, now we can move to this part of that properties, that are your font properties and your text properties, right? These are the simplest one, right? These are the intuitive one, by the way. If you just say like font family, we have already discussed. You can change your fonts, like how is your font looking according to your font size or font family. You can change what will be your size of the font using this font size, right? Font weight we have already done, font style, height, all these things are very intuitive. So I'm not taking much time to explain that, right? And now there are two important sections or two important categories that belongs to what? That belongs to your border properties and your background properties. Right. So borders ones are, very widely used, right? So what are those border properties is, suppose if you have any content, right? Or if you have any box or something, just a minute, let me write that over here. Suppose if you have any content written over here and now you want to encircle it, you want to maybe enclose that inside a box. So in order to enclose under a box, you'll have to first of all define it as a division, and then you have to give it a border. Right, so whenever you are giving borders, right, borders require you to take like 2-3 things you need to give that in order to create a successful border. What all 2-3 things you need to do? First thing is you need to give its width, right? What is the width of what will be the width of the border that you will be creating, that you can give using border, right? Now what will be the style of border you will be creating, right? Sometimes you will find a properly solid border over here, sometimes you will find a dotted border over here, right? This kind of borders you will find. Sometimes you will find a dashed border, right? This kinds of border. All these different types of border could be there. So you also need to specify like which style of border that you are trying to make. Now, one more other important property is like border ka color. Suppose if I'm saying I want to like 2 pixel width wala border with like solid style, but I also need to make sure that whatever color I want to give, I need to specify that as well. How do I do that? I just write border color, and that will give my color to that particular border, right? I hope by specifying all these things, you will successfully make a border, right? And I hope now you are able to process how we can give a border. I'm not giving demonstration of each and everything at this moment, because again, the same thing, we have very limited time, and we just want you to get a gist about what all things are in web development part, and am I interested in this or not? Because let's take a moment and let's address this elephant in the room, that this is a very common thing that happens whenever you are in tech field or something. Maybe if you are a beginner or something, right? You might find people saying someone will say, bro, let's do web development. Web development is very great, you'll find plenty opportunity over there. Someone will say, nay, web development is everyone doing, right? So let's do one thing, let's let's go into ML field, or let's go into Android fields or something like that, right? So in all these situations, what is the most important part is that you first of all try each and everything. You just go into everything and you say ki, okay, acha, let's try web development for a week, or let's try web development for 15 days, right? So that ki if you are enjoying this or not, because these different domains are according to different people's need, right? Suppose I might like web development, but you might not like web development, right? So that is why all these what all are these agenda of these boot camps are, so that you are comfortable with you have seen some like ins and outs of web development, so that you can make your decision after that, right? Now, if these things are making some sense to you, or if if these things are sounding some interesting parts to you, then you can do one thing. You can probably pursue some courses, or you can probably look out for more such content, right? Maybe you can look out for any Udemy courses, maybe any YouTube playlist you can search, or maybe you can get enrolled into any of the courses, right? So this is what we are helping you to do that. All right, now again I'll take one other moment, so that about telling you about our courses that we are launching, because yesterday we discussed that, and we found like quite number of people interested into that. I'll just take a moment to introduce to that. Again, I'm not forcing you to take this or do not take this, it's up to you, but I just want you to know about this as well, right? Because if you are feeling this, if this is important, or I want to pursue this, so here is one other important or crucial thing that might sound interesting to you. That is that we at edspread are coming up with this just a minute, are coming up with this guaranteed full stack web development course, right? And yeah, so by guaranteed, I mean if you if you do this, if you get enrolled into this, we'll definitely give you an internship, like, and you'll have a certificate at the end of that as well. It's not like you'll only be giving you certificate and not doing and not making you work on something, right? You'll definitely work on something really great project, and you'll earn that certificate after that, right? Now after that, what we have is if you want to know more about who will be the instructor, and what all their qualifications are, so yeah, this is me. I'll be taking the course. If you want to read more about it, you can maybe get this PDF and read more about it, and maybe you can go on LinkedIn and you can also search over that, right? Now, another added advantage of that is you will have doubt support as well, right? What doubt support you will have? Supports, like, it's not like someone will be texting you your questions or something like that. That will be live, right? That will be real time. You'll ask your questions and you'll get that answer right away, right? So this will be another added advantage of that. Now, here is the like overview of that, right? 100 plus topics will be covered, 10 plus projects will be done, and with the again, one more added advantage of that is what? That will be a live, right? I already told this earlier as well. Yeah, that will be a live classes. It's not like recorded one and you'll just probably binge watch them. It's definitely not like that. And we will be starting from beginners till advanced level, right? And one-on doubt will be definitely be there, and group-based learning, right? Because we have noticed this. Suppose even if you are giving like free course, or even if you are giving like live courses, but people generally tend to procrastinate, right? Because if they are learning alone. But if you learn along your peers, right, if you'll have like 3 4 a bunch of people learning alongside with you, you'll have probably groups or something, then you'll have a better chance of not procrastinating. And 10 plus projects, I've already told, that will be like resume grade project, right? It's not like some simple apps will be there and that just can be made in like 10 20 minutes, right? Definitely some intensive projects will be there. What all projects will be there, we'll see this later in the PDF. Now resume building workshops from like Facebook's and Microsoft's people, right? They'll tell you like what all things you need to do, what all things you don't need to do, and other stuff like that. Letter of recommendation, if you are a good student, if you attend classes, if you take your assignments like seriously. Internship certificate, definitely if you are doing internship certificate, so will be there. And certificate after completion, so that you can give this approve as well. Okay, I've done this project and I was kind of a star performer or something like that. Okay, so about that, let's okay, just a minute. Let's move to the next part. That is your slide over. Yeah, all these, what all things will be there. There will be like front end development will be there, back end will be covered, APIs or version control will also be there. Like what is Git, what is GitHub, because these are very important, right? If you are a developer and if you don't know Git and GitHub, it's like end game for you, right? And there are like databases are there and their uses, how do you store databases, I mean how do you store your information, how do you get those, and after deploying and hosting will also be there. Suppose if you have done development of your project, right, now you want everyone to see that, right? Now you want everyone to use that. So how do you do that? You do that by hosting it, you do that by deploying it, right? Now there is the detailed curriculum of that. If in case if you want to have a look what all subjects or what all subtopics will be covered, starting from HTML CSS until React may everything will be covered, starting from very scratch till very end. JavaScript maybe will start from very scratch, as if you don't know like programming as well, and will go until the advanced concepts of JavaScript, right? These all are the tech stack. Then if we talk about backend, we will start with Node.js development, then we'll touch Express.js, APIs and APIs call. Then we'll have MongoDB hosting and securing a site as well, right? How do you implement those SSL certificates and stuff like that? These are like tech stacks. Projects, if I talk about, there are plenty number of projects. I'll not waste my time into explaining each of them, because like what is portfolio, what is expense tracker, search movies, wiki backend, and blog website, and all these projects will be there. You can definitely take your time and read about it, like what else will be done and how many things will be covered. And at the end, as I promised, we will have industrial training and internship program that will make sure that whatever you have learned is just not like theoretical part. You'll also implement that somewhere else and you'll earn a certificate after that, right? And 2 days resume building workshops from Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Uber, all these big tech giants people will be taking that. And you'll definitely earn 3 certificates. What 3 certificates? Certificate of completion, internship certificate, and letter of recommendation, right? So these all is very brief about the curriculum that we have come up with. And if you want to know more about it, or if you want to if you have some interest in doing that, I'll be sharing that query form just in a moment right away, and you can fill out your queries. And maybe if you just have interest and if you want to know more about it, you can fill that, and maybe someone from the team might reach you, or if you have any doubts, we'll definitely reach out to you. Again, it's not a compulsion. It's not like you'll definitely have to do this, or it's like compulsion or something. It's totally up to you. But I'll say that, I mean, it's on my personal opinion. We have been running one batch and it's been super successful, right? We have very great testimonials as well, right? So all these things. And again, one more thing is that will be paid, obviously, because we are putting so many efforts into that. So that will be paid. And trust me, it's super affordable, because we want suppose if you want to do all these things, right? These are definitely available at various different platforms, right? Udemy have that, YouTube has that, and your premier institutes have that, right? I'm not taking those names, but yeah, you know what premier institutes I'm talking about, right? Those physical classes and all these, they also have that, but I'm not taking their name. So the USP of our course, right? Just a moment, let me give you a quick USP of that. I mean, a quick comparison about that, so that you know that whatever we are coming with is what does it provide. So I'll say YouTube we have courses, right? Then we have Udemy courses. Then we have we have Premier Institute courses, and then there is our edspread courses, right? So what is the USP that we have come up with is in YouTube के courses में, if I talk about like revenue, or if I talk about cost, right? So these are definitely free. These are the best options. Udemy's are also what Udemy's are also like in a cheaper rate you can get, but premier institutes are not cheap, right? So this is a demerit of that. But with edspread, we are definitely cost effective. We are definitely affordable. The next point is, that beats most of these other things are what? The next point is about your doubt support, right? The major part. In YouTube, you definitely know that there is no particular doubt support. A minute. Definitely no particular doubt support. Udemy, maybe there is no such doubt support. You'll probably have some peers answering you or other stuff like that, but that's it. That's not a real-time support, right? In Premier Institute, you'll definitely have that, but again, the cost factor is there. In edspread, you'll have that. Right. And yeah, Premier, just a minute, let me take another color. Yeah, in that you'll have internship supports. In YouTube, it will not give you internship support. Udemy's will also not give you internship support. This will give you internship support, but again, at what cost? And they'll give you partial supports, right? They will definitely not guarantee you that you'll be getting plays or you'll getting internships at some points. But with edspread, what will be happening is you'll definitely getting that guaranteed job. Or guaranteed internships, right? So this is a minor comparison. I'll not waste much of the time again. And if you are interested into that, or if you want to know more about that, just a minute, let me give you a moment, and let me share that registration form so that you can fill in your queries, and if you have some interest. You can show your interest over there. Yeah. Okay. So many people have been asking about the course curriculum fees and all, right? So see, right now, I'll not reveal this. You'll definitely, if you have any things about, ask about the period, the total time period, and all these, like the fee structure and all these things, you can fill out that form. You can fill out that query, and we will definitely reach out. Again, I can guarantee this will be super affordable comparing to all these other things, right? The group learning, the guaranteed internships program, and all these amazing projects and these live classes, right? Depending upon all these things, that will be super affordable. I can vouch for that, right? It's just that, like, if you have any queries or if you want to know more about it, please feel free to reach to fill this form. Just a minute, let me check if it is working or not. Yeah, if that is working, so you can fill out that, and yeah, someone from the team will get back to you on that. Cool. Let's quickly get some doubts, and we'll move forward. Also, what is the timing of the? Okay, we have covered that. Good morning, good evening, good evening. How to give? Okay, top left and right. Just a minute, I'll take that, Lalit. Just in a moment, I'll do that. Please explain by giving some example. I'll definitely give that. Okay. All these are for what? Okay, so you'll definitely be not charged for an internship separately, right? If you have enrolled into that course, after that course curriculum completes, like it's again about the expected or the approximate time of that the curriculum will not exceed, like it will be not like 2 year or 3 year program. It will be very very crisp program. It will not be waiting for you like 1 year or 9/10 one, right? It will be very crisp so that you understand properly, and it will be not too long so that it will not take much of your time, right? And once you go through the curriculum properly, all these live classes and all these projects that you made, then after that only you'll be doing into that what in that internship period, and in that period you'll not be charged with any extra amount, right? That amount will be for including everything, right? Including from doubt support, including from like the live classes and all these other things. Fees I'm not revealing at this moment, right? Fees will be super affordable. That is my promise that I can vouch for at this moment, right? Just if you are interested, please fill out that query form. If you feel like, yeah, let's give this a try or something. Again, it's not necessary if you fill this form you'll have to take this, or we'll spam calling you. It's definitely not like that. If you want us to call you, or if you want us to reach out to you for any other queries or something, do that. If you don't want to get disturbed or something, please also mention that. We'll not call you, right? It's super simple like that. We'll not be spamming your emails, or we'll not be making multiple calls to you like, please take this course or something. It's definitely not that like that. We have like only limited seats as well. It's not like that. You spam it. Cool. So I hope that part is it's understandable to everyone, right? What all we discussed and what all are the features. if you want to know more about it, you can definitely fill out that form. I have shared that. Now let's move back to our thing that we were discussing about border properties that we have done, right? So I'll do one thing quickly. I'll explain you all these things, and then I'll quickly go to my VS Code IDE, and then I'll do all these things in a very short time. See, because if I do one thing there, then that will take much of the time. So I'll do quickly explain all these things in a very short time, and then we'll go there, right? So yeah, these all things are there. Borders I've already explained. These border top, border left, right. What is this thing? That is about, suppose if you want to only change the border in, just a minute. Yeah, suppose if you have this border and you want to change, or you want to add borders in sides only, right? And not on the top and border, that you can also specify using border top only. If I write border top style, right? So only the style, the top style will be changed, right? Not like left, right, or bottom. So specific things that you can do with this, right? Again, all these things, if you want to write in single line, you can write this with one property called as a border property, right? Now you'll say, how do I write width? How do I write style? All these things. I'll show this you in a moment. You'll write shorthand, where you'll write 2 pixels solid black, and your border will be there, right? So these are the simple things. Now, just a moment. Let's see what we have what we have next. Next, we have border property. Background properties, right? So these are super important when you want to give a particular background to your web page, right? Suppose if you want to say, I want to add a background image in my page. How do I add it? You add a background image property. Suppose you have added that image property. Now you want to, make that, you want to say, I want the center of that image to go in my page. How do you write it? You write by border position. Right. Then similar size, may you'll write how much area my border image should cover, or how much background image should cover, or all these other fancy things that you can also control that. And with background repeat, what happens is, suppose you can control how many times your image should repeat, or if your image should repeat or not, right? So all these things are very simple in that. One more thing is, which I forgot adding over here, is like display properties, right? Someone was asking about this in an earlier class as well. And someone has asked about this in today's doubt session as well. In the chat sections as well. So let me quickly cover that. So if I talk about displays, right? Display may you'll or positioning. Display, so we already talked about inline and block. So if I talk about positionings, so positions, where generally you'll have one thing that is called as a default one, right? That is also called as a static, I believe. Yeah. You have relative, and you have absolute, right? Absolute you have. I'm not sure if this is called a static, but yeah, that is the default one. Absolute is there also, and there are a couple of other as well. Fixed is there, then there are sticky and all these things. But see, these are not very super important. These are rarely used, so I'll skip that. I'll only talk about these 3 properties, because these are commonly used and these are important ones, right? So default is like normal one, right? Suppose if you place any element over there, that will be there, right? It's the super simple thing. You don't have to write anything in order to call it a default position, right? It will be there by default. There is no specific thing to do that, or there is no specific thing to know about that. Now these things are super important. What are these things? One thing is like relative one, and one thing is like absolute, right? As the name suggests, relative one is what? Suppose I have positioned a block, I have positioned an image over here, right? Please note that if this is the original size, right, or if this is the original position of that image, and I want to shift it to like some like 10 centimeters, just a minute, I'm not taking like web development example. Suppose it is a box that is in your living area, right, and I want to shift it to 10 centimeters or like 10 inches to the right, or maybe 10 centimeters or 10 inches to the bottom, right? So I'll do one thing. I'll say do one thing, whatever is the position of that box, right, push it to 10 centimeter or by 10 units, and push it down by 10 units, right? So if I'm doing that, right, if I'm doing this kind of positioning, this will be called as a relative positioning, right? You will find people writing like top equals to 10 pixel, right? Maybe bottom equals to anything 20 pixel, or anything top right and left equals to these things, right? So what all are these things? These things are just, you are saying whatever was the initial image, or whatever was the initial position of that, shift that by 10 pixel to the right, to the bottom. And if I write this bottom say 20 pixel, that means bottom say shift that to 20 pixel, right? So this is about relative property. Now, if I talk about absolute one, right? Absolute one is fairly simple one. Absolute one, what happens is, suppose if this is your box, right? And now you will position it according to its parent element, right? What is the parent element? Suppose if this is the only element in your page, if this is your page, I want to, you want it to go like 10 centimeter from the above, right? 10 centimeter from its parent block. What you will do is you'll write 10 centimeter, and what will happen? Or 10 pixel, or what will happen, this box will be placed over this area now, right? Now you are not saying but wherever this box was placed, it will not shift from that place, but it will place itself according to its parent element, right? Parent could be anything. It could be the whole page, or it could be any other component where it is placed inside, right? I hope I'm making some sense now. The difference between relative is whatever was the original position, shift that from there. And parent is, I mean, this absolute one is where whatever is the parent element of that, place this block according to that. Cool. So I hope this is now making some sense. And now some people are saying, explain that with an example. So I'll quickly do one thing. I'll explain everything with an example. Till then, if you find any other doubts, please do ask. Is it asking degree? But I have completed my graduation. Okay, so is it asking about the degrees? So I think you can select on, there would be another option, right? For any or other. If there is no option, please select 4th or years or something. Or if it is mandatory, I think they forgot to add that. Yeah. Now quickly I'll do one thing. I'll quickly do 1, 2, 3 simple thing in this properties, and I hope you'll understand this. Again, our main motive is not to make sure, not to explain everything, because everything is practically not possible in that. I'll quickly open this maybe second page. Yeah, you can also give the color in half body, man. See, it's basically about, let me show you that whatever I'm saying. Now let's do one thing. If I want to create some boxes, or if I want to create some different boxes or some sections of the body, how can I do that? I can do that by using something called as a div. Right? What is div? My autocomplete is not working. Just a minute. Maybe my VS Code is starting. Just a minute. Maybe it's, yeah, it will work now. So what is div? Div is nothing but a tag. I told you about span, right? In the last class. Span acts as what? Span acts as, suppose if this is my content, I'm writing ABC. If I want to enclose it, if I want to enclose and give particular styles to that, what I will do is I'll enclose this with a span. Why I'll enclose this with a span? Because span will not disturb its presence. Suppose if the line is continuing and if ABC is written over there, span will not disturb it anyways. But if I want this to get a separate area, how do I want to separate this? I want to say that ABC will be in particular line, and any content before that will be above that, and any content after that will be below that. So in that situation, I can do one thing. I can encircle that. I can enclose that within the div. Right? This is the minor difference between it. These are inline. Span ones are the inline one, and this is your block level. Right? I told about this in the second HTML class, I believe. Right? So this is it. Now I want to do one thing. I want to create some boxes or something. I'll do one thing. I'll add some content over here, and I'll write, hello world, I am a box. I am a box. Or I'm a div, maybe. Right. If I do this and if I run this, you'll see no change, right? Yeah, attendance link I'll be giving just in a moment. Visually there is no change. It's just coming like a normal other text, right? Normal, these hello words and all these things, it's coming like that way. But what will be the difference? Now I can do one thing. I can maybe select div first of all, right? It's not a good practice because you can use multiple div, but right now we have only one div, so that is why I'll write this thing only. Yeah, let's give this style now. Now you can see I have given two things, right? What two things? I've given a border property. In border property, I've written three things: 1 pixel, solid, and black. So this is a kind of a shorthand for writing what? This is a shorthand for writing border style or border width. First of all, border width is your 1 pixel. If then border style solid, and then border color black. Right. So if I write all these things, what will happen in my page? Now you can see that we have a beautiful looking border around our division, right? And if I want to write this with one single line, what I'll do, I'll comment out all of them. Have to increase the size. so that you see this properly. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about doing that. Now what I've done is, see, all these properties I've written in 3 different lines: border width 1 pixel, border style solid, border color equals to black. Now what I'm doing is I'm writing all these things in one simple line. That is your border property, right? By doing that, what will happen? Again, the same thing will happen. My division will have a block around. Now, if you want to give colors, if you want to give any other styles with that, what you can do is easily, you can write other things. You can write background color. You will write any other color. Let's give this a brown color and let's see how this will go. Now you can see that there is a background color as associated with that. Now paddings may, if you have noticed, notice carefully, if I will change the padding, if I'll write maybe, let's give this 100 pixel. This will be very terrible, but yeah, let's give this. Now you can see that there is a lot of spaces from inside, right? And let's do one thing. Let's try to minimize that and let's try to give this a margin. Right, let's give this a margin of maybe 200 first of all, so that we can see the difference. That, yeah, now we can see that this box is getting differences from left, right, top, bottom, etc, etc, right? So I hope that will also solidify your your differences between giving a padding and giving a margin, right? I hope everyone is getting this. Please, with practically, yeah, practically I'm just telling in a moment. Yeah, attendance link just in a moment. In around 7:50 I'll share that, right? So this is about adding all these stuffs. Now some Lalit is saying how can we give colors to half of the body, right? So let's take that out first of all. I'll do one thing. I'll maybe not create this division over here, but I will do one thing. I'll write a division block from the start here. I'll do this thing, right? See, what I'm doing is I have enclosed everything. Just in a minute. Let me, yeah. Now you can see everything that is in my page is encircled or is enclosed inside the division tag, right? So if that is done, what will happen is, I'll do one thing. I'll say, I don't want to add a border or something, or let's give the border. There is no issue with that. Or let's give the background colors as well. Once that is done, right, this height equals to, now this is a very important thing I want your attention over here is, now I want to give the height of this division to exactly half of the area, right? Half of my page. So how can I give this as a half of the page? Is I write 50 VH, right? What is that VH? VH means whatever is my height of the page, just give 50% of that, right? It's just like writing 50%. VH is viewport height. Whatever is the height of your page, give that a 50 VH. Now I want to cover full width, right? I want to cover full width. So I'll write 100 VW. 100 VW is what? Viewport width, right? So if I do that, let's see if anything happens on our page or not. Cool. Right, now you can see half of my page is getting what? Is getting brown color and half of my page is it's white now. There is a minor situation over here. You'll find that in corners we have some space, right? So this is a this is a different part. This has to do something with the default styling that our page has. So I'll not cover that in a moment because else we'll lose the track of our bootcamp and we'll go into the depth of CSS. So yeah, just ignore it for a moment. But yeah, I hope you can see that half of the pages of some other color and half of the pages of some other color. Cool, right? Yeah, examples we are telling this. Okay, so pseudo selectors. Okay, so pseudo selectors are again very simple things in any childs, whatever you are asking. See, these are somewhat on the higher side or somewhat on the advanced side of the selectors, right? So I'll say that we'll not go into the depth at this moment, but suppose if you want to select, you have like let me give you a simple example. Suppose if you have 10 different list items, right, and you want to select all the even ones, all the even list items, and you want to give them a particular style. One thing that you can do is you can give them individual ID, you can give them individual classes, and then you can give them classes. But that will be a pain, right? Suppose if you have 20, 200, 2000 of such IDs. So what we will do is we'll add some pseudo selectors. What are those pseudo selectors? Those pseudo selectors are nth child, right? Nth child will do what? Suppose, I'll just give you a syntax of doing that, although you can easily Google that, but yeah, nth child selector, how will you do that? You'll write if maybe we have li, and we want to give like nth child of that. Yeah, nth child may I'll write, if I write 2 over here, or if I write 2n over here, what will happen? Every even element of that will be selected, and that style will be given in this manner, right? Now this will be not sounding cool to everyone. This will go as a bouncer for everyone, for most of the one. So please ignore that. Just like we have some doubt, so that is why I took this part. Right, so this is how you can use your init selectors, and plenty other things are over there. Right now, I'll not cover this in a moment because this is a very beginner friendly. Right, so yeah, if that is done, I believe all these other properties, I mean, these are very minus one, right? Height, padding, margins we have done, colors we have done, all these border properties we have done. Background images, maybe you can do it very quickly, right? I'm not taking much the time at this moment. Let's do one thing. Instead of giving this a background color, let's give this a background image. Okay, it's 7:50 already. Just a minute. Let me give you that attendance link. Cool. Please mark your attendance over. Yeah, right now we have to start the JavaScript because we have planned it accordingly, but since we have so many doubts regarding CSS, so that is what I'm taking. Don't worry, just okay, let's do one thing. Let's not add image now, and since I believe this is too much for CSS at this moment, right? Because all these things, if we go into very much of the CSS, then we'll lose track of the JavaScript and etc. Right, so yeah, let's close the CSS chapter over here, and let's move to the introduction to JavaScript and very common terminologies according to that, right? And yeah, see, this was all about our CSS. I know that we have not covered everything, we have not covered every property, but all these major properties, so we have done, right? You have been asking me about how do we display things, or how do we, what is top, left, right, and etc. I have also told. Okay, I have a doubt on position in Z indexing. Okay, so right now, Sunny, I'll not able to take much of it, but yeah, I believe like I know like what problem you might be having is, you see, if you use Z indexes, right? Z indexes will not work if you have used any other display. I mean, if you have the default display, the default position, you have to give at least relative or what absolute or all these other types of property. If you want to do Z indexes on the normal position, it will not work, right? I hope I have answered your doubt. Now let's quickly move back to our PPT, because PPTs we have not covered anything. So our today's agenda was what? Let's get to our agenda now. Our today's agenda was introduction to JavaScript and few programming fundamentals, right? So I'll quickly finish this off in like 10-15 minutes, right? Because this was the much part that we have to cover. But anyways, let's do it now. So the very first thing is like, what is JavaScript, right? And why do we need to bother around it? So JavaScript people define it like two different ways. One is like JavaScript is also a proper programming language in itself. Just like C, C++, Java, Python, all these programming languages are there. JavaScript is also a very popular programming language, but it is not used as a programming language. I mean, so it is a programming language, but it is widely used in your websites, right? Maybe for if you want to write scripting, if you want to like add some dynamic features to your to your web page, or if you want to build some backends associated to it, right? So if I say ki, like web development field is not possible without JavaScript, it will not be alive. Right, majorly web development is relied on JavaScript, right? Front end may you write JavaScript, back end may you also write JavaScript, databases maybe Mongo may you also write some of the JavaScript, right? Mongo's whatever framework that you use, right? So JavaScript is very popular language. It's widely used, right? So it is lightweight interpreted programming language, right, which is designed for creating these network centric applications, and it can be integrated with HTML very seamlessly, right? So all these things, the crux of all these situations are it can be used as it is an interpreted language, and it can be used with our web development area. Right now, it is most programming. It's like most popular. I've already told great choice, etc. All these things are very intuitive and very very obvious by now. right? So this is a very like short introduction. Now if you are interested about its history, right, how JavaScript got introduced, what was its purpose, etc., etc., I mean, let me give you a small gist. Like it is kind of a very loose language or loosely typed language. It was just developed in 10 days and it is like wonders. It's been doing wonders. If you cannot call yourself a developer if you don't know JavaScript completely, right? JavaScript is a must to know if you are a developer or if you want to become a developer, right? You will face JavaScript in every other corner of it, right? If you want to learn React.js, you'll have to learn JavaScript. If you want to learn like backend frameworks, you'll have to learn JavaScript, right? So this is about it, and it had a very rocky past. I mean, someday some other browser was using it, some other day some other company has modified it and they were calling it another language in their own, and later after some time it got standardized and it is also called as ECMAScript sometime, right? You'll find people saying it as JS and people also say it as ECMAScript, right? So this is also another fancy name of that. Again, one more thing I want everyone to know over here is Java and JavaScript has no relation with each other, right? It's not like they are brother sister or they are somewhat relevant or some same guy had developed them. It's just like Java was very popular at that time, so people at JavaScript thought if we give this a Java name, then it will also become very popular, right? It's just like what is the similarity between car and carpet? See, both of them share the car in the first name, right? It's not like car and carpet are somewhat related to each other. So this is what analogy of thinking that, right? So I hope this is clear to everyone. Let's quickly move to the next part. That is your JavaScript syntaxes, right? Now it is very interesting to note, like if we talk about HTML, right? About CSS. So in CSS, what we did is we wrote CSS in a different file and then we included it. We also wrote CSS in the same file in a particular section and we called it as a style section, right? We enclosed them inside a style tag and we wrote all our CSS into that. Similar thing can be possible. Similar thing can be done with JavaScript as well. If you want to write every JavaScript your page has inside the HTML, you'll open up this script tag, right, which is also a container tag. You'll open up this tag and you'll write every JavaScript code inside that, right? This is one way of doing that. Other way is you can create a new file .js with the extension of .js and you can write everything over there and you have to link that file again, right? Now linking a JavaScript file is a different will be different than linking a CSS file. You'll have to use a script tag over here, script src, and you'll write your file name over here, right? In this way you will write your you'll attach your JavaScript file to that, right? Right now I'll not be in this class I'll not be showing you the demonstration of doing that because we'll cover like basic programming fundamentals in this class only, right? Which I'll cover in a very short time because I believe like 80-90% of the people here might know about what are variables, what are loops and all these things. I'll just give you a demonstration. I'll just give you a very overview about it, right? Because we are already running a late on time. Cool. So yeah, I hope everything here is making some sense. If it is not making any sense, don't worry. Once we see the demonstration of that, then you'll have a proper idea around it. Cool. So yeah, the very first thing that we know that we talk about in any programming languages are what are the data types, what are the basic data types that this programming language offers to us, right? So if I talk about data types, right? So in any programming languages, data types are generally considered into what? Primitive ones and what? Like derived ones or the advanced ones, right? So primitive ones, we'll be talking about this in this bootcamp because again, everything is not possible in just like a span of 7 days. So we'll only be focusing on primitive ones over here. Primitive ones we have numbers, we have string types, and we have Boolean types, right? In numbers, so I mean, I don't need to tell you like what are numbers, right? Anything that is numerical, that may contain your float, that may contain your integer, your fractional value, all these value are numbers, right? It's not like you'll have a float, you'll have a double, or all these kinds of different data types according to different things. All these things will be covered in the numbers, right? Strings will also be there. Strings will contain alphabets, alphanumeric things, right? So all these things will come under string, and Boolean will only have trues and false, right? I hope this is understandable to everyone, right? So these are the primitive ones. And now one more interesting part over here is key. Although we have like all these types of different data types, we have numbers, we have string, we have Booleans, but we do not tend to use numbers, we do not tend to use string, anything before writing that number, right? What generally happens in any other programming language, if you are writing a string, right? Maybe I'm writing an str and that contains ABC, right? We will say, acha, we will say character of this, or we will probably write string before that, and we will call acha, str is a string, right? If I am writing any number, right? If I'm writing maybe a equals to 10, I'll have to write int, or I'll have to write maybe float, I'll have to write double, etc. Right? This was the constraint in any other programming language. But with JavaScript, what is possible? I mean, what is the wonders of JavaScript is that, just a minute, let's go to the next slide and we'll probably have that over here. Yeah. If I talk about variables, right? So in that, the wonders is that you don't have to write any other things, right? Just a minute. You don't have to write any other thing. You just write a variable. Variable ke aage you can define anything. You can write a equals to 10. You can write abc. Again, if you want to write abc equals to a equals to abc or anything, right? You don't have to specify that what type of variables or what type of data type you are specifying it. Right? This is the beauty, right? What is the beauty? Because JavaScript was loosely typed, right? Loosely typed. It was, kind of a situation that is very usable, right? Because you don't have to worry about whatever type value that you are writing or all these stuff. Yeah, exactly. I can see people writing JavaScript is love. Definitely, JavaScript is love. And if you don't fall in love with JavaScript, I hardly believe that you are a developer or something. It has the 22%. Exactly, man. Akshay also says the very good thing that as 2022 developer services, JavaScript is like the top language, right? It's not like in only 2022 it's coming up at the number one, right? From like past many years, JavaScript has been topping up this list, right? Despite of having different technologies, different languages coming over here, JavaScript still remains the same. I mean, still remains at the top, right? So this is the basic thing. Again, if we go a little bit further, right now you can only say that a variable is used most of the time, but there is something called as a let, there is something called as a const as well, right? So these are also used. In fact, these are used more than variables, right? So if you are just learning, if you are very newbie, you will be using variable everywhere, var over everywhere. But if you are a little bit advanced, if you know a little bit more thing about JavaScript, then you'll probably get to know about this let and const, right? What is the way of using that, and how they are different from a variable, right? I hope this is also making some sense now, right? You already know about data types, right? What all are data types? We have numbers, we have we have strings, we have booleans. These are primitive ones. And now we are talking about variables, right? Variables may, in like normal situations, what used to happen is in other programming language, you have to specify which type of variable you are creating. Maybe you are creating an integer type, maybe you are creating a character type, maybe you are creating a float type, or all these other things. Here you don't have to specify any of this. You just write var and your variable is ready to use. Yeah, just that, like that. We'll also talk about variable, we'll also talk about let and const in the further coming classes. So this is just about it, right? Now there is one more thing that you need to know, that is called as a scopes, right? The scope is like, suppose if you are if you have this particular box, and if you write anything inside that block, or if you write anything inside that will remain into this box only, right? So this block is the scope of this, right? If you define any variable over there, if you write variable over a variable a over here, this a will be enclosed into that part only, right? Although this is not 100% true in case of variable. I'll explain this key why this is not 100% true for var variable. But yeah, at this moment we can understand if we define this any under function. Suppose if this is a function for us, and if we define any variable inside that will remain inside that. All right. Now if this is our whole file, if we define any variable or if we define anything outside that, that variable can be accessed anywhere, right? So that is called as your global scope, right? If you define it any under any function or under any block, that is your local scope, right? I'm not emphasizing more on these topics because I believe these are very simple programming stuff, like very fundamental thing. If you have any times tried studying programming, so these things are very intuitive for this moment, and we don't want to waste much of our time in dealing with all these things, right? So yeah, these are very simple things. Now let's move to the next part, that is like conditional statement, right? Again, these are very simple and intuitive thing. What are these? If you have particular condition, right? If you want to say like if the age of any user is like greater than 18, right? Then show this part, right? If the age is like less than 60, then show this part, or greater than 60, then show this part, right? So how can you deal with those kinds of scenarios, right? You can deal with those kinds of scenarios by writing or tapping into something called as an if-else statement, right? If you write, if the age is like greater than 18, then you will show particular part to him. If you write, right, if the age is greater than 60, then you'll show particular things. And at the end, you'll say like, if nothing of these satisfy, you'll write else situation, and whatever you write inside this will go as the default condition, right? If anything's above does not support this, then you'll probably land up at this stage, right? So yeah, this is about the statements. These are about the conditional statements. I'll quickly pace up and I'll see what all we have for the next PPT. We have, yeah, this is the simple syntax of doing that. Don't worry, I'll show everything in the next class, like what are if, what are else, how do we write, how do you do all these things. Yeah, if else, else if, and all these things are simple. Now for loops, while loops, okay, these all things are only there. For loops and while loops, right? So let me take a moment and let me explain what is loop and why it is why it is required, right? So basically, suppose if you say, yeah, I have to print like numbers from 1 to 10, I can directly write C. If I take C++, for example, right, I'll simply write C out 1, C out 2, C out 3, C out 3, 4 until 10, right? But if I have to print numbers from 1 to like 1000, I'll not become an idiot and not try to print like like numbers from 1 to 1000, right? Instead, what I will do is, see, I have to do a repetitive task. What is that repetitive task? Printing a number and then incrementing it. So I can make use of something called as a loops, right? Loops are something these are particular code that will make you do a particular operation until a condition is satisfied, right? What are these conditions? How do you write these conditions? How do you do incrementation? All these things we'll do in the later classes as we move on to coding part, right? So just for a moment, understand that for and while are those such things for us that will probably do these repetitive tasks until a condition is satisfied, right? I hope everything around these programmatic fundamentals about variables, data types, like all these conditionals and loops are somewhat making sense to you. Don't worry, we'll do all these things in the later classes and you'll have a gist about it, right? If you have any quick questions, if you have any doubts with that, please do ask in the comment section, and then we'll probably wrap up this. Just a minute. Any questions we have? So please difference between okay, so we have questions from Akshay, and we have like Puneri boy is also asking undefined and none, right? So these are good questions, although some of you might not be able to understand at this moment, but yeah, let me try to answer that very quickly. So see the difference between first of all that let, where, and const, right? So although there are multiple differences between where, let, and const, let's take a very simple difference, right? So the major difference between var, let, and const is var was like the previous one, right? It was not the latest one. Let and const are like the latest one, right? These are ES6 or JavaScript 6 version. Sorry, ECMAScript, I'll say ES6 version specific only. After that, we have introduced let and const. What was the problem with var was, suppose if there is a particular block, right? If there is particular block, if there is a particular if situation, and if I denote any particular thing inside it, var will not conclude inside this box only, right? Var has a function scope, right? It does not have a local scope, or it does not have a block scope. Instead, it has a function scope, right? So now, what is a function scope? What is a block scope? That might not make much sense, but yeah. The difference is it has a functional scope, not a block scope. But with this let and const, they have a block scope, right? This was one major difference. Other major difference is you can redefine, or you can define these variables, but you cannot redefine these let and these constant, right? And if you talk about constant specifically, constant are like, if you define anything at one time, you cannot change it further. Variables ka value, let ka value you can change further, but constant ka value you cannot change further in the program, right? So these are the basic differences. Although I know things might not be very clear, but for those of you who understand var, let, and const, you might have got some idea, right? For those of you who are very new and who are scratching their head, what is lat, what is const, what is the difference, we'll take that later in the further coming classes, right? Now we have one more question about undefined and null, right? This is also a good question. So see, the simplest difference between undefined and a null is, suppose if I have defined a variable, right? I have written var a, and if I have just written it this way, right? And I have not given it any value, right? If I have not given it any value, this is by default undefined, right? Any variable that you define in JavaScript is by default undefined. That means ki at this moment it is not defined with any values, but it is there, right? It is there in our program. If I say explicitly, if I say ki maybe I want to say like what is your number of backlogs, right? If I say this one, if I say what is the number of backlog, I could maybe write 0, but I could also write null over here, right? That means ki I don't have any valid answer in that, right? So null is a value that you enforce by, that you enforce it to any variable, right? If I don't want to give any value to that, or if I want to give this an empty value, then I will say I will add a null over there, right? But if I want to give this value at any other points, or if I have just initialized it, that will have an undefined for us, right? I hope the minute difference between this is clear to everyone. Now we have one other quick doubt about it. The dynamic, can we make dynamic webs? Definitely we can. With JavaScript only, right? So JavaScript, you can make a little dynamic, right? Little dynamic as in, suppose if the user gives any particular input, then change the page to like this way, or then do some other things. You can make like slight dynamic features you can add, but fully dynamic feature like websites you cannot make with plain JavaScript, right? In JavaScript you can use like Node.js, right? Node.js is also written in JavaScript. You can use Node.js, you can use any other technologies to make that fully dynamic. But if you use plain JavaScript, I believe you cannot achieve a fully dynamic, right, a website. Cool. So I hope I've cleared everyone's doubt, and we are running a late on time. So yeah, we are almost concluding this session. If you have any quick doubt or any quick problems you want to ask, you can ask, and else I'm just wrapping up this, right? And about that attendance link and about that curriculum, I told you if you are interested in doing that, if you are interested in knowing about this, please do fill out this query form that I've shared with you, and you'll get more information about that. And please mark your attendance. You'll have if you become regular in these classes, you'll have certificate of completion after the end of this bootcamp, right? So I hope I'm assuming that okay, good night everyone, and I'm assuming that we don't have any further questions, and I'm concluding this webinar. Thank you everyone. We'll meet in tomorrow's class, and we'll discuss further, and we'll see more thing about JavaScript, and we'll try to conclude this, right? So bye bye everyone, have a good night, very good night. See you tomorrow.